Hi, welcome back to Cat Things, and today I want to talk about something really exciting, which is shopping and minimalism. So how do you shop as minimalist? Let's get started right away. Today I have prepared for you a few shopping tips and just sharing my experience of shopping as minimalist. And for the tip number one, what I would recommend is to having the list of the things that you want and that you need. I usually write down the things that I need, for example, new running shoes or new leggings, and the things that I just want, like a nice lipstick that I saw somewhere or a book that I would really like to read. And this actually helps me to know what I'm looking for. When I go online, I look through the stores that I'm interested in, and it helps me to stick to what I actually am interested in rather than jump onto buying these things that I actually don't need. Also, I found that this list is a really great reference for the time when the sales come around, so that you're not overwhelmed by all the choices that are available out there online, and you actually stick to your list as a reference and you get the things that you really like. A small clarification that I want to add here is that I did put in the list the things that I both want and need, although in a separate columns. And the reason why is that I think many people think that minimalism is like all or nothing solution, is that one day you just stop buying things and you don't get anything and you limit yourself in all the purchasing choices. But I think that it's really important to be gentle with yourself and let yourself transition into buying less items just by slowly reducing your consumption, but still honoring your desires and your wishes. Moving on to tip number two, I would recommend setting these things that you really want as a reward for yourself for achieving a specific goal. Usually we tend to overbuy things impulsively, but I totally recognize that it's important to indulge yourself with the things that you really want, just like for the soul, you know. So what I usually do is that I treat these things that I want as a reward for myself for achieving specific goals. Just to give an example, for instance, your goal this year is to lose 20 pounds and you're working hard at it, and at the end you can reward yourself with something that you really want, like a nice pair of running shoes, or maybe it's a trip somewhere, although during the COVID times, where we're all gonna go. It can be anything. It can be a nice chocolate or whatever you want to buy. The main point here is to set that thing that you really want to buy as a reward, so that it becomes more meaningful to you. It becomes something that you really work hard for. And then you're shifting your perspective and your mindset from overbuying things to actually working for things that you really want and achieving them and having that fulfillment of working for something that you really desire. This kind of strategy brings me back to my childhood when I wanted to buy a professional camera, my first ever camera, and I was about 15 years old and I didn't have enough money to buy it, so I spent a few years just working and saving money and helping out relatives and just getting money for doing little works like sweeping and cash money from my parents. And then at the very end I was able to save the money to buy my very first camera, and it felt like such a huge reward and such a nice work done. I just love that feeling of working for something and feeling like you're rewarding yourself, and then it doesn't feel at all like you're wasting your money or time. It just feels like something that you really deserve. Moving on for the minimalist shopping tips. Tip number three is to build in some time before you make the purchase. And what I mean by that is, for example, you see this beautiful advertisement for these beautiful running shoes that you want to buy, and you impulsively really want to click on because they are on sale. But what would I recommend to do here is that you can add them to your cart if you prefer, but take some time and come back to the purchase later. So what I usually do is that I look at the item, I'm like, okay, this is what it looks like I want to buy, but let me think about it a bit longer. And then usually I take a day or two just forgetting about it, sort of just having it in the back of my mind. I know I'll come back and I'll look at it again. And usually what happens is that when I come back to it, I'm like, this is not really that pretty, or this is not even what I really want. So building in that time between seeing that item that you want to buy and between the time when you actually make the purchase, really, I feel like it really helps me to determine if this is something that I really want. It helps me to remove that impulsivity aspect from purchasing so that I can objectively evaluate if this is the item that is up to my taste and something that I really need or something that I really want. So building in that distance before you actually acquire the item, I feel it really helps me to slow down and really think where this item fits, either in my wardrobe, in my house, in my kitchen, etc. For my fourth and last tip, I would recommend into looking at reusing and repurposing things that you actually have. So to give you an example of what we did recently is that we bought this nice, beautiful king bed that is in a gray color, and our nightstands, they were really old. It came with the bed that was about 30 years old. It was gifted to us by the parents of my husband, and sort of they didn't fit at all with the bed. However, the nightstands that were sold in the store with this bed were really, really expensive, and I really didn't feel like I wanted to spend $1,200 on nightstands, especially since this is not an essential item that you really need to be of high quality. So then we started looking at the options of what we can do. First option was to buy a nightstand from another store that might be cheaper, and looking at it closer, I realized that a lot of nightstands were produced and made cheaply and didn't quite feel like the right fit. So I was sort of looking for the middle solution between very expensive nightstand and cheaply made ones. What I realized at the end is that we have these beautiful nightstands that don't fit in terms of color, but they are made out of oak wood, so they're natural wood. They are really, really sturdy. They just don't fit in terms of the color. So what we did is that we went to the construction store and we bought a sanding machine, which costed about $30. Then we bought a tincture. It's like a paint to cover the nightstands with the grayish tone that would fit with our bed. And then we bought handles to like repurpose and redo our nightstands. And a few hours of work, we ended up with the perfectly fitting nightstands that were matching our bed and that were of a good quality, and we spent less than $100 in it. I really, really loved that approach because it allows you to give a second life to the things that you have, reuse them, and at the same time also save money. I would really, really recommend looking into the things that you already have and looking into how you can repurpose them. Maybe use them for the other room or in the other style, redo them, retouch them a little bit to fit with your house. Or in terms of clothing, it can be, is there any items that maybe your mom doesn't wear and that you can wear but they're still in a good quality, but for example she still doesn't like them. There's also these clothing swaps that you can go to and exchange clothes, and this is a good opportunity to not spend any money at all, but at the same time get new clothing items. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for staying with me and going through my minimalist shopping tips. I do plan to make another video with minimalist shopping tips, but specifically for online shopping, and mostly that video will be focused on how to save money while shopping online with a few hacks and tools that I use to get discounts and things like that. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned for the upcoming videos. It's going to be one of the next ones coming up. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more exciting content coming up. Again, thanks so much for staying with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, bye!